more spiritual dating tips that I've learned. If they feel familiar to your soul, which means when you are around them and you're just chilling and everything just is copacetic, there's no stress, there's no drama. You guys feel so familiar that you just feel like family, like, you know what I mean, where you can just sit in a room with someone, you can talk about anything, but at the same time you can both be doing totally separate things, but just about having their presence. And then there's times where you feel like, oh, I'm arguing all the time, or I feel discomfort where, like, I don't know if I trust the situation, and you're going back and forth on, is this real? Is it fake? Everyone's using the big N word, the narcissist, and they're like, okay, what does that mean? Like, what does that mean? And then you're always looking to see if there's some type of trait or habit that they have. And I tell people this: everything is here as a tool. Everything is meant for discernment. Again, you don't want to go so deep into everything that you hear because it can be correct. But at the same time, what I've learned is we're all each on healing journeys. So there's moments where sometimes, where you repeat the cycle of feeling like you're dating the same energy over and over and over. Everyone has the choice to repeat that cycle and heal it, or repeat that cycle and discard it. What discarding it looks like is you're repeatedly dating energies that you know are not available or emotionally ready for you, which means if you know that you are not really that much of the initiator, like let's say you don't want to be an initiator, of course, make yourself available, be present, wave, say hello, let people see you if that's what you're looking for. But for most situations, I learned that I am not really meant to be the initial initiator because I run in headfirst, probably with lust, probably with desire, probably with things that I wasn't really paying attention to at first because I'm just excited that this human body is what I'm attracted to, right? Because that's all we know first. We're not actually looking at the person's soul. We don't know their soul. We only know the flesh. And so that's the moment where it's like you'll meet somebody who aesthetically is pleasing to you and what you desire. But then when you get to know them, emotionally they're not available, mentally they're not there, and spiritually they messed up. You know what I mean? So that's where the alignment comes in, because when we talk about these levels of hierarchies of what a good man is and what a good woman is, we forget to quantify what it means. And so for me, that's what it means is as I get to know you, yes, the body can be bodying. But if we start to talk and communicate, and as we're getting to know each other, fine, logically we click, we know how to communicate properly and not make each other feel too weird about how we talk to each other, right? But then there's the emotional side. What do you do with that knowledge? Are you actually listening? Are you showing up? Are you being consistent with that? Or are you just using it for something later to manipulate, right? That's the part where most of us get stuck emotionally because we think we're supposed to fix that. And we can't. We never will. You have to only focus on your spiritual practice, which is how do you get back to self? How do you get back to center? Spirituality for me is not church, but it can be church. It's not meditation, but it can be meditation. Does that make sense? Whatever it is for you that can give you that time and space and silence to sit with self, be comfortable with self, and be like, okay, if I know myself, and go down a list. When they tell you to go down a list, it's so true. Everything happens for you. Just go down. You can write it down because that does make it more tangible. But in the beginning, practice just going down the list of what you know you want, not what you don't want. And just remember what you want, because when you don't want something, you'll know instantly it's not what you want. But if you don't know what you want and it shows up, you don't know because you have not visualized your actual plan. And that's where we start getting into that twin flame energy where we're just rushing in. Because yes, there's intensities to it. There's so many levels to the twin flame relationship. They do work. They're just intense. That's it. There's just a lot of ins and outs here. Or they're back in school and you got to fly across the country for a job and you can't always be together, but you love each other. You can really be with somebody, be head over heels in love with them, and it works, but there's always something pulling you guys apart. Or you can be the twin flame distorted energy where you guys want each other only for the aesthetics, and then you just argue and fight and fuss and fight. That's all them TV shows people like. All that stuff on them TV channels. You know what I'm talking about, the reality shows. None of those people, some of those people literally did not do the soul work. So they have no spiritual connection to not only their flesh, but also their emotional mind and their spiritual body that helps them make their decision and thought, right? That's what discernment is supposed to be about. So when you're putting these things into practice, you know when you instantly call someone in, if they're from an old path that you used to call in and you used to let yourself be abused, or from a new path where, yeah, there's things that might trigger you, but they're not hurting you enough that it means you're supposed to do some work to clear that up too, so that you're not hurting yourself in the process, right? So that's the point of all of it. We're always going to hurt ourselves. We're humans. It happens. Maybe physically, emotionally, whatever. We're always going to hurt ourselves. So it's not about avoiding the pain. It's about learning how to endure the pain that you know you're willing to take for whatever process or end result that you're trying to reach, right? That's what they say. If you put in the work, you're going to get what you want, but you have to know your end result, and you can't steer from it. You can venture off your path a little bit, but you cannot steer off the journey, because once you start it, you started it. Is if that's what you really know you want for you, because at the end of the day, if you don't know what you want for you, again, you will have no plan, and you're going to go with anything and go it out with anyone that comes along and gives you the right feeling or thought of security, comfort, whatever it might be from childhood that you didn't get. They're going to replicate it. And that's the part of, again, that darker side of the karmic relationship in the soulmate. Because remember, you can be raised in very karmic, dark energy where you see the paths of your family and you see the cycles they're repeating, and then you go into a relationship with someone where they're growing and healing and you're also growing and healing, but you're both still not quite there, right? That takes awareness to say, oh, we actually can do this. Like when they say you're not, you can meet people completely healed, but you don't have to be completely healed. It's a true statement. You just have to know that you're on your healing journey, which means when this person triggers you, not if, that you don't take it out on them and you don't not talk to them about it. Remember, you're supposed to express what you're feeling with somebody that you're having a symbiotic relationship. You're literally living off of each other like little hosts and parasites, in and out of each other's crevices and living in each other's space and swapping fluids. So you should know how to communicate with them, good, bad, or other, but it's all about conditioning of self to say, if I call in someone who's strong enough to handle me, that means that I know I love myself. If I call in someone who cannot handle me, that means that I am not loving myself enough, that I'm allowing them into my space still. Somehow, energetically, on some level. That's what, even if you didn't ask for it, I know it sucks. And I'm not saying every creep who walks up to you is meant to be in your life, but I am saying there's an energy that we all exude. And there are certain people who know they should never walk up to you. And there's some people where they're like, oh, I can talk to them. I got what it takes. And then you find out it's like that bloom popping challenge. It's like, what? You thought you had it. So that's the relevance of like really going into the spiritual journey when you start paying attention. Like when people, again, when you hear terms like twin flame, soulmate, twin ray, all these, they are just interpretations of the same cycles that have been going on since the beginning of time. On one side you have light, on one side you have dark. Light and dark used to be together, but they can't always be together because the polarities of their densities don't mix. You wouldn't have light or dark if they were mixed. We'd have gray, right? So on some level, that is the epic relationship. The dark, what do they call it? The Lilith and Adam, right? That is the light and the dark, the ultimate. But within them, they still have their worlds. There is a masculine one within the darkness, and there's a feminine within the light. And so, again, whatever theology you want to attach to it, the point is it's masculine and feminine energy, and that's where the yin yang comes in. So you have these two cycles of, you can stay in the womb of the feminine energy, and you can, again, be distorted and be a boy toy and be all these things where you don't feel seen, but you like using your body, because that's the distorted energy. The feminine's all about nurture and love and everything else that comes with that, insert and all. And then the masculine energy, again, you're going to have to recognize where, do you want to stay in the distorted energy where you're, yes, sir, whatever you want me to be, sir. That's where that comes from. So unfortunately, at some part of the journey, both went distorted, and they both are now looking like, well, I like being bad. Well, I like being good, but they're both just as tainted, versus just living for self and being authentic and calling in your natural energy, so that when you do call someone in, soulmate, twin ray, whatever other, not only does your body like them, but your soul does too. I hope that makes sense. Love ya.